tailgaters are out.
Take out your Richter scales, it's going to feel like an earthquake.
It's just jam-packed with people in red and black.
You're dialed into the Bulldog Tailgate Show, live from the Georgia Dome and the 2012 SEC Championship game. The Bulldog Tailgate Show is sponsored by Cotton States Insurance. Call Country Financial at 1-866-COUNTRY to start with an auto quote today. Cook's Pest Control and Centricon, the unbeatable combination for termite protection. Georgia's own credit union. It's your future. Own it. By Flash Foods. By Georgia Farm Bureau. For 75 years, we've been working to provide safe and affordable food and now provide the best insurance products for Georgia families. By IBW Local 613. Experience our code of excellence. The Georgia Egg Commission. Wake up to the incredible edible egg. By ServPro. Fire and water damage cleanup and restoration. ServPro like it never even happened. Jameson Inn, the South's leading hotel chain. And by Georgia Power. Official power source of the Georgia Bulldogs.
One back in the backfield, wings to each side. Tevin Washington under center. Man goes in motion. They'll run the option this way. Pitch it to the wing man. And down inside the 10 is Godhigh. There's a flag down. Godhigh still on his feet. He fumbled the football. It's out of the pack. Bakari Rambo running to the near side. He's got a convoy trying to cut through a couple of would-be tacklers. He's brought down at the 50.
Over the past 5 years, the Crimson Tide of Alabama has been America's quintessential college football program. Bama has won 59 games with 2 still to play. Over the last 4 seasons, the Tide has averaged 12 wins per season with 2 to play. Today, Mark Richt's Red and Black Warriors will challenge the Apple computer of college football for the SEC Championship. The winner advancing to meet Notre Dame for the BCS title. Hello, Bulldog Nation. We're sitting on at least I am, the 41.5-yard line at the Georgia Dome, along with Loran Smith and Eric Zier. This is Neil Hondo Williamson. Upstairs in the press box is the voice of the Bulldogs, Scott Howard.
It's huge. This is everything we've dreamed of our whole lives, and to have the world watching, that's huge.
Georgia senior linebacker Christian Robinson. And Scott, I've tried the thesaurus, but there aren't enough words to describe the atmosphere surrounding this game for Georgia fans. Anticipation, effervescence, excitement, urgent, scintillating. You pick them.
Yeah, I think you got them all, or at least a good start there. There has been an enormous groundswell of support generating from Athens this week, and certainly spreading throughout the state. This has been the buzz all week long. I mean, everywhere you go, it's in restaurants, it's in gas stations, convenience stores, churches from Ringgold to Valdosta. This is they're not only the toast of the town right now, this Georgia team, but the toast of the state. It's been electric to be around the Bulldogs this week and really feel and be a part of the build-up for today's game.
Loran Smith, the Nick Saban / Alabama aura and era. Is this what it was like when Bear Bryant was dominating the SEC for different stretches in the 60s and 70s?
First of all, I want to say from churches from Ringgold to Valdosta, we need all the help we can get.
Yes, they work on Saturday.
But I think it's just a little different feel because of the playoff, because of all the national media. It seems a little different. It seems a little more intense than it was when Bryant was dominating the league. But I think it's very, very comparable. And I think you have to know that if Nick Saban weren't winning here and he didn't have an opportunity to have his program established to where he could win consistently, he would not be there. Because he feels, I know in a conversation I had with him in Mobile a couple of years ago, you can't turn a team around or you can't develop a team in the NFL as quickly as you can in college. Now he's developed the program to where he wants it. He's got to maintain it, and I think you can say that he's doing a fine job. They're as good as they come in recruiting, coaching. The big thing about the game today, Georgia's good enough to beat them. You just got to play well enough. And you got to remember, Alabama might be vulnerable, but they are not going to beat themselves.
Very good. Eric Zier, the spread option of Georgia Tech is in the rearview mirror, albeit with tire tracks across its chest. Today, we're going back to a pro-style offense opponent. How much adjusting did the Dogs defense have to do this week to recalibrate back to the type of attack that we'll see from Bama today?
Yeah, Hondo, really is 2 weeks, right? It's Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech, 2 weeks in a row of the triple option. However, I don't think it's going to take much recalibrating to get back into the rhythm of playing a pro-style offense. This is the same offense that we see every day in the offseason when we're able to practice. We see it throughout the year. It's the same thing that we run, almost mirror images of each other, what both these teams try to do offensively. So just like riding a bicycle, they're going to be able to hop right back on and get going. This defense has played great really since that Florida game, and the comments made by Sean Williams. They have been the dominating, intimidating defense we thought we would see coming into the year. I expect we'll see that same type of performance again here today against an offensive football team in Alabama that does not hurt themselves. They are explosive. They can do a lot of good things, but they're going to have their hands full with the red and black defense as well.
All right, sound please.
We go against that defense every day in practice, scheme-wise, the same defense, and we go against a pretty talented defense too, so I think that'll definitely benefit us come Saturday. And
there's Bulldogs receiver Rhett McGowan. Eric, how do you expect the Bulldogs to solve the nation's top-ranked defense of the Crimson Tide?
Well, I expect us to come in and be balanced. If you look at this Alabama defense throughout the season, 2 games that they have struggled in somewhat against LSU, against Texas A&M. Both those teams ran the football over 100 yards. Only 2 teams to go over 100 yards on the year against this defense. In both of those games, both teams, offenses, LSU and Texas A&M, also threw the ball for more than 250. So expect a balanced attack, but one where we have to run the football. And one of the big keys to today's football game is we have to win on first down. You get into third and medium, third and long situations against a Nick Saban defense with the kind of talent, the kind of schemes that they're going to deploy against you. It can become very difficult. Winning on first down is going to be critical today if we want success, but we're going to be balanced throughout the day.
Do you go to a short passing game early to try to do that?
Yeah, I think you do. You know, one of the other keys really today is being on time and quick decision-making coming from Aaron Murray. This Alabama defensive pass rush, not as good maybe as we've seen in some years past, but they can still get to the quarterback. They've had some success this year, 30 quarterback sacks on the year. You go back even into the past 14 games, they're 4th best in the SEC. So they can get to the quarterback. You've got to be quick with your decision-making. What helps with that is quick, short, intermediate passing games just to get some rhythm and get the chains moving.
All right, sound please.
You know, I think they're hungry for some more, and they want to. We just want to have a better performance than we had a year ago in Atlanta.
There's Coach Rick. Scott Howard, how do you distinguish our team last year from this year's entering the SEC championship game?
Well, I think this group is a more determined bunch, at least talking to them and just kind of get the feeling of what they're about. This is a team that's playing like it's more on a mission than last year's team, and they readily admit that last year a lot of guys have said, you know, we were just glad to get there last year. And we lost the first 2 last year. Then they went on that 10-game streak. And they were just glad to get back to the championship game last season. These guys this year seem to be playing with more of a purpose. And we saw that last year in the first half of this game against LSU. But we also felt like as soon as something didn't go our way in that game last year, that we would slump a bit and we would lose our aggressiveness. And that's certainly what happened after the punt return by Matthew last year, and that just kind of began the landslide that was the second half. I don't see that in these guys this year. I see an extremely confident team that feels like it can inscribe Georgia on this SEC trophy and get to that next level in January.
Yes, no question that this team sort of got off to a good start, at least mentally, by knowing that the players who could have gone out for the draft came back, like Jenkins, Rambo, all those guys came back. Now, that was a good sign. But we had the suspended players. A lot of things developed to where it wasn't as smooth, but I think this team came together as a team against Florida. Not a good first half of the offense, but then they rallied, regrouped, and won a very, very tough game. And I think they became a team. But those guys coming back not only gave you talent, it gave you good leadership.
All right, thank you, Lauren, Scott, and Eric. The studio host and producer of the AT&T Tailgate Show is Cabell Philpott. Our engineer here at the stadium, Charles Youngs, Adam Witten, and Jay Black, producers of this broadcast. A victory today over the Crimson Tide will send the Bulldogs to the BCS championship game against Notre Dame on January 7th. Kickoff today is just after 4:10 on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Live from the 2012 SEC Championship game, this is the Bulldog Tailgate Show.
Here's Gurley, handoff, running straight ahead, touchdown! They never slowed it down, and Gurley pulls his way into the end zone as Aaron Murray ran behind him with his arms raised. Quick 6 for Georgia.
Once again, here's Neil Hondo Williamson.
Third-ranked Georgia versus number 2 Alabama. Back at the Georgia Dome, it's amazing to think of the journey our Dogs have been on, coming off a 6-7 record in 2010, then an 0-2 start last year, as Scott just mentioned, to now winning 21 of our last 22 regular season games and 88% of our games overall since that 0-2 start last year. Here's our Loran Smith.
Thank you, Neil. And joining us from outside in the parking lot, Senator Burt Jones, just elected to the legislature here a few weeks ago. You're not having a campaign today, Burt. I guess you're celebrating and tailgating with everybody and not backslapping and asking for votes. What was it like to become a state senator?
Oh, it was great. It was great, Lauren. I picked a pretty good time to do it. When I told my wife I was going to run for office, she was 8 months pregnant, and we were building a new house. So the timing was everything. But we had a good election and came out victorious, and so we just glad and looking forward to session starting, but really looking forward to this ball game today.
Well, 10 years ago, this is the 10th anniversary of Georgia's defeat of Arkansas in the SEC championship game here at the Georgia Dome, 30-3. Got off to an electrifying start. DeCorey Blount blocked the Arkansas punt, and you picked it up and almost scored. And from there on, Georgia dominated the game. As you look back to that game, you think about it, you recall that time. What were the highlights of getting to the championship and winning it in 2002?
Well, yeah, obviously it was the first time doing it, and for University of Georgia, it's been 20 years since Georgia had won a SEC championship, and that team from the 02 years actually reminds me a lot of this team, or this team reminds me a lot of the 02 team, because we were gelling right there at the end of the year, playing our best ball, and finished the season 13-1, but we weren't as fortunate as this year's team to have an opportunity, because back then there was a couple other undefeated teams at the time, Ohio State and Miami, that got to play for the national title. But like this team this year, they are gelling it right now at the right time, and just have everything in front of them if they take care of business tonight.
Well, now that you're in the legislature, are you going to have any legislature passed to recognize special teams guys like yourself?
Yeah, we might try and do that. Lauren, who might you recommend? I think what we'll do, first order of business, is recognize you, Lauren, when we get up there. We'll have a special day for that.
Well, some highlights of that game. Get your comments. Moses Smith gained 106 yards. Terrence Edwards had 7 pass receptions for 92 yards. David Green, 17 out of 29 for 237 yards and a touchdown. Everybody played well. What was the attitude coming into the game?
Well, we knew we had a good team, and like I said, we knew we were killing at the right time, and those guys performed. We jumped on them so quick, and they really, by the time it was 21-0. I don't think Arkansas. It was not 5 minutes into the game, so they didn't know what had hit them, and it was exactly what we needed to do. Start fast and not make many mistakes, and we did it that day, and sure was glad to be a part of that team.
And we're glad that you are part of our broadcast today. We'd like to thank you, Burt Jones, Special Teams Player of the Year for the Bulldogs in 2002, Senator Burt Jones.
All right, thank you, Loran. Always great to hear from Burt.
The 2012 SEC Championship Game broadcast is presented by Carriage Kia in Gainesville, Georgia. Visit them today at carriagekia.com and go Dogs.
As we take you to break, let's hear a great Terrence Edwards highlight from 2002 and Georgia's first ever victory in Tuscaloosa against Alabama.
Bama's linebackers a little close. One of them in particular snapped to Green. They're coming on him. Green going to throw a long fly pattern to Terrence Edwards. Touchdown! Perfectly led play. Green got clobbered after the play, but he threw a perfect strike. Terrence got one step on the defensive back and just came across their goal line as he caught it. Terrence Edwards, a great catch. And David Green really laid that ball in there.
I love how quiet it is in the background because we're in Tuscaloosa. You know, there's no cheer, there's no roar, there's no nothing. This is the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Welcome back inside the IMG Network studios. Cabell Philpott with you, counting you down to kick off for the SEC Championship game. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Georgia. They will face off for a chance to go to the National Championship and hook up with Notre Dame on January 9th in Miami. A few games going on around the country right now as we open up the college football scoreboard. UCF 14-7 lead on Tulsa in the Conference USA Championship game. About 4 minutes until halftime in that game. Also, 7:52 to go in the second quarter. Number 23, Oklahoma State, trying to climb back into this game on the road at Baylor. It's a 24-10 lead for the Bears versus the Cowboys. Also, 2:22 to go until halftime. Number 11, Oklahoma. Number 7, and TCU, unranked TCU, both of those teams tied at 7 apiece. Landry Jones' touchdown that he threw earlier in this game ties Ty Detmer for 5th all-time on the BCS list. Oklahoma needs to win this game and hope that Texas beats Kansas State tonight to help them lock up the conference championship in the Big 12. Also today, at 2:30, a matchup originally scheduled for the season opener. Oregon State and Nicholls State will hook up. That was canceled earlier in the season postponed because of Hurricane Isaac, rescheduled for today. 3:30, Mountain West Conference matchup. Number 20, Boise State heads to Reno to hook up with the Nevada Wolfpack. A bad overtime loss last year took Boise State out of the BCS hunt in that game. They will hope for revenge today and win their outright Mountain West Conference title. The sun starts to set. We start heating things up with the SEC Championship at 8 o'clock. ACC Championship. Georgia Tech will try to hand number 13, Florida State, its second loss in as many weeks. Noel Smarting from their loss last week at home against the Gators. At 8 o'clock, 18th-ranked Texas faces off against 6th-ranked Kansas State in Manhattan. Texas could upset Kansas State and crush the Wildcats' hopes for Big 12's automatic BCS bowl bid. And finally, the Big 10 title game tonight. Number 12, Nebraska will play Wisconsin in Indianapolis. Big 10 title gets things wrapped up tonight. Their kickoff at 8:17 p.m. But all eyes today on Atlanta, Georgia, and the SEC Championship game. Bulldog Nation ready to rock and roll. So is Neil Hondo Williamson. Neil, back to you.
All right, thank you, Cab. We are jacked up here in Atlanta. Lauren, Eric, and I are sitting on the Georgia team bench looking at an empty Georgia dome. It's ringed around the bottom of the dome with different logos of SEC teams, and looks pretty good. Nice Southeastern Conference there in the background and in each end zone as well. And there are all the names of the teams up around the top level, too. So they've done a really nice job converting the dome into an SEC venue for this game. It's funny, Cabell mentioned that Oregon State is going to play Nicholls State in football tonight, making up that game. And I got a little tired of reading all week people saying, well, Georgia and Alabama haven't played anybody in there. So I looked up to see who some of the other top teams have played as out-of-conference opponents. And you know, they have a big argument because Oregon this year, out of conference, took on Arkansas State, Fresno State, and Tennessee Tech.
All powerhouses.
All powerhouses.
All powerhouses.
Ohio State took on Alabama, Birmingham, Central Florida, Miami of Ohio, and Cal. Kansas State played Missouri State, North Texas, and Miami. I mean, heck, fire, man. Alabama played Michigan. We played Tech. We whipped Tech. Florida whipped Florida State in whatever, Tallahassee. South Carolina whipped Clemson, at Clemson. Goodness gracious, these people say they didn't play anybody. Well, then you look at everybody else. They didn't play anybody either. If you're going to say that, that's just nuts. We all play a good schedule, and you got to win to get here, and we have.
12 games, you got to have some games you sort of figure you can win regardless.
Yeah.
At home, and you don't have to return the game. Everybody does that.
Everybody does it. And for all you tailgaters out there, show your Bulldog and Publix spirit by throwing the ultimate tailgate party on game day. You can be selected as a Publix tailgater of the game and win a $100 Publix gift card. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
All right, that's Eric Zier. He will give us the inside scoop as to how the Bulldogs offense is going to dent and scratch Alabama's top-ranked defense in about 2 minutes. First, though, take you back to 2003. Georgia versus Alabama between the hedges and the great Larry Munson.
Billy's going to try 52-yarder, 52.5 yards. Alabama's got 10 men on the line. We set it down, and the kick is up there, and it is good.
Oh, yeah. Eric Zier, 2 minutes away on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
It's the perfect way to begin your Georgia football Saturday.
Dogs need that kind of toughness.
No doubt it's going to have an impact.
You're listening to the Bulldog Tailgate Show.
Play fake. Murray rolls out to his left, throws it back corner of the end zone. He's there, and he makes the catch. Touchdown, Rhett McGowan, back left corner of the end zone.
Of course, as a receiver, I love that, and I love when we got a lot of receivers on the field. I think that spreads them out, and it puts pressure on, their DBs and also the box. When we spread them out, they got to keep less in there, and it keeps pressure on them. With our great running backs, they can make plays.
Welcome back to the Georgia Dome. Georgia receiver Rhett McGowan with the TD catch last week against Georgia Tech, and then commenting on his fondness for the Dogs' up-tempo offense. Eric Zier is the no-huddle, hurry-up, the way for the Bulldogs to go today to keep Alabama's heralded defense off stride.
Yeah, well, it's definitely one of the ways, against this Alabama defense, they're going to give you so many different looks, and they can play a chess game with you because they've got such a high football IQ defensively, can play a lot of games with you. As you get up and you make checks, they can go and make checks right back on top of it, especially when you get in third down situations. Nick Saban, with the kind of schemes that he runs, can give you a lot of different looks, make it very difficult for you as a quarterback, as a center, to identify who the line needs to slide to. So going hurry up or going no huddle is a way to do it, but it's really how up-tempo can you be at the line of scrimmage? Can you go on quick counts? Can you snap that football before you give Alabama an opportunity to try to create some confusion? So definitely something that we'll see from Georgia. We've seen it some this year. I expect to see it a little bit more today and potentially a little more up-tempo than we've done in the past.
The Alabama defense allowed 298 passing yards to LSU, 253 to Texas A&M. The Tide seems to have righted the ship the past 2 weeks against Western Carolina and Auburn. Which two-game stretch is more indicative of Alabama's defense?
I think that the last two games are more indicative when you look at the body of work for this Alabama team, giving up 77 yards per game on the ground. 156 yards passing, not allowing any points really against them throughout the year. Now, what I think that you saw against LSU and Texas A&M really was your blueprint. You have to stay consistent running the football. If you can do that and force Alabama defensively to get another guy in the box, you're going to have some opportunities to throw the football. Both LSU and Texas A&M went for over 100 yards on the ground. The only two teams to do that all year long. Both those teams also threw for more than 250 yards in the game. It really speaks to the kind of balance you have to have if you want to have success, and it starts with running the football.
Aaron Murray's statistics stunning over the last 4 games. 73% completion rate, 284 yards per game, 13 TD passes, no no interceptions. His passing efficiency rating has exceeded 210 3 times in the last 4 games. Now, is that the level of competition? And or do you see any way that Aaron can even come close to putting up those kind of numbers against the Tide?
Well, listen, he can. You look at what Zach Mettenberger did and Johnny Football Manziel. Mettenberger, 25 out of 36, no picks, almost 300 yards throwing the football. Manziel was 24 out of 31. Very solid football game. 2 different style quarterbacks there, but Aaron Murray's as good as both of those guys for sure, and he can go play with anybody in the country. In order for him to do that, though, we really have to have success on first down, and he's got to be able to make quick decisions throughout the entire game that they get the football out of his hands into his playmakers' hands. If we're successful on first down, I think you can see a really successful game from Aaron Murray. If we're not, and we're getting a lot of third and medium, third and long situations, that's when you're going to struggle against this Tide defense.
All right, Eric, I'll read you a quote from CBS analyst Gary Danielson. Quote, Alabama's not a great pass rush team. The worst thing Georgia does is pass protect. Agree or disagree?
I guess I agree to an extent, but I think that's all relative. When you look at what the Tide has done rushing the quarterback, they've registered 3 or more stacks in 9 of their last 14 games. Over that span, they've tallied 37 total stacks. In 12 games this year, they've racked up 30 sacks, so they can absolutely get after the quarterback. And on the flip side of that, Georgia offensively, you're doing something right. Pass protection is the key to throwing the football, and you look at the efficiency that Aaron's had throwing the football. You're not going to be able to do and put up those kind of numbers if you're not able to pass protect. That being said, Georgia has struggled some in that category, giving up 22 sacks this year. So, again, all relative. Both of these teams are very, very good. It's going to be important for Aaron Murray because of what he's going to see against Alabama to be very efficient, very smart, and very quick in his decision-making today.
All right, thank you, Eric. Ackerman Security Systems is the official security alarm provider for the Bulldog Nation. Monitoring for just $18.95 per month, no cost to switch. Call Ackerman Security at 770-552-1111.
The 2012 SEC Championship Game broadcast is presented by Carriage Kia in Gainesville, Georgia. Visit them today at carriagekia.com and go Dogs.
Scott Howard and Eric bring you the play-by-play as our third-ranked Bulldogs play for all the marbles in the toughest conference in America against Alabama. Kickoff just after 4 o'clock in the SEC Championship game. This is the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Welcome back, everybody. Charlie Mack, Alexander with Christian Robinson, coming off probably the best game you've ever played defensively against Georgia Tech. How does that make you feel going into the biggest game of your life?
I feel like I've said that a lot. I think that the way that we played, it was another physical game, a line of scrimmage game, and those are the type of games you need to have before you play a team like Alabama, and it's going to be won at the line of scrimmage, and whoever knocks the other side of the ball back the most is going to win.
What have you learned from last year's SEC championship game? What do you take from that game, and is this team a whole heck of a lot different than that team?
I wouldn't say we're different, a lot different. I think the thing is our mindset. Last year, I think we were just happy to be there. I think a lot of people, coming off a 6 and 7 season, were just happy with, we're in the SEC championship game. We can check it off the list. Well, now I think our mindset is, we want to get here, but we want to do something special while we're there.
Does it kind of get under your craw a bit? Everybody's talking about Alabama. Not many people talking about Georgia. Some are. Does that kind of get under your craw a little bit?
I think I'll take that. I mean, if people are more worried about them, I'll focus on practice this week and avoid all the distractions that could come. We have to show up, we have to practice, we have to do our best, and those things are what's going to win us the game. And being distracted by outside things won't. So we got our hands full.
You're on a hot streak.
We are. We're doing well, and it's kind of a tale of two seasons. First half we kind of didn't live up to anybody's expectations, even though we were winning a lot of our games, and now we're winning the way people thought we should have been the whole time, and we're in a chance to do something special, something that hasn't been done here in a long, long time. So we have to seize the moment.
Christian, go get it.
Thank you.
That's Christian Robinson. Now let's take it back to Hondo.
All right, thank you, Charlie. With a win today, the 2012 Bulldogs will become only the third team in UGA history to notch 12 victories in one season. Vince Dooley's 1980 national champions won all 12 of their competitions, and Mark Richt's 2002 Dogs finished 13-1. As we go to break, let's hear a highlight from that 2002 SEC championship game.
Dogs trying to rush off the corner, and they block the kick, and it's rolling across the field, down around the 8 or the 9. A dog picks it up, tries to fight over the 5. We're pushing and pushing down to about the 2. The Corey Bryant was the one that blocked the ball.
And Burt Jones picked it up. The Red and Black just one victory shy of our first ever appearance in the BCS National Championship game. Scott Howard, the play-by-play voice of the Dogs, is next on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
The Georgia Football Tailgate Show continues with this Bulldog Point of Pride, presented by Delta. Keep climbing, official airline of UGA Athletics. Now with the 411 on the University of Georgia, here's Steve Bell.
Bulldog fans, the University of Georgia is committed to improving the life and health of Georgians. The wait for some blood test results may be reduced from weeks to hours thanks to research being conducted at UGA. Professor Lee Dong Mao is refining a device that shows promise in detecting and treating blood diseases. The device Mao developed promises to provide faster and more accurate results than other blood tests. And that's another Bulldog Point of Pride.
Live from the 2012 SEC Championship game, this is the Bulldog Tailgate Show.
Georgia will get a crack from the 25-yard line. They'll line up in the I formation with Thomas Brown, the tailback. Play action fake to Brown. Stafford wants to go for it all right here. He throws to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! Georgia wins! Mikey Henderson on the reception. One and done, baby.
Once again, here's Neil Hondo Williamson.
Oh, boy, was that a fun night in Alabama. The voice of the Dogs, Scott Howard, back with us. And that, my friend, was your debut season announcing Georgia games. What a call, what a memory.
Puberty. I remember it well. Yeah, that was great fun.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a classic finish by the Dogs, and certainly Georgia fans cherish any victory, but especially in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, and that was a signature call there, buddy. That was a great one. The Dogs fans will remember that for a long time. Well, our 2012 edition of the Bulldogs gets a chance to send the Crimson Tide fans home unhappy again tonight. I thought the Georgia tight end Arthur Lynch was interesting, Scott, when he said that he was impressed but not overwhelmed with playing Alabama's defense. The Dogs don't seem intimidated.
No, not at all. And it's like we talked about earlier. This is just a very confident group, and they feel like they can compete with any team that is on the same field with them. And you know, that intimidation thing could have been the situation last year with LSU, as we mentioned earlier as well. But just waiting for something to go wrong. This version of the Dogs, I don't think, is carrying that characteristic at all. They're very comfortable in their doghood, if you will.
Artie Lynch is going to get on for me for calling him a Georgia Tech tight end, I'm sure. Sound, please.
He loves to submerge himself into the film study of every game. In this one, he wants to focus on nothing but Alabama.
Scott, your thoughts on Aaron Murray's self-imposed media blackout this week?
Didn't really see a problem with it. I talked with Coach Richt about this earlier this week. He certainly approved of it. But, you know, Aaron wanted out. He wanted to cut down on the distractions, and we can all understand that. This is the biggest game he's ever going to play in at this level. Unless we get to Miami, this is it. He wants to be focused. You know, I know how many interview requests I got this week. I'm just the radio guy. I mean, this guy, he would have been covered up for 4, 5, 6 days. And like he has been the last 3 years, he's been very accessible. Every week he's at the weekly presser. He's one of the most likable guys you've ever come across. He's very accommodating. I didn't have a problem with him bowing out this week just to focus on this game.
Let me ask you about bowls. Should the Bulldogs lose today, the Sugar Bowl allegedly has worked a backroom deal to take Florida. Many prognosticators have the Bulldogs missing out on a trip to the Sunshine State as well and coming back to Atlanta for a New Year's Eve game. Unfair or just business?
Well, the bowl business, as we all know, can be dirty sometimes. Just check the goings-on with the Fiesta Bowl over the last couple of years. There's a lot of under-the-table stuff going on. There's a lot of money changing hands. And that's the way a lot of them operate. As far as this situation is concerned, I don't think it's fair at all. And people say, well, life is not fair. Well, this situation is not fair at all. When you've got two teams, you've got two division winners in the most high-profile conference, football conference in the NCAA. They're both 11-1 coming into this game, number 2 and number 3 in the nation. And the loser falls out of a BCS bid. That's a travesty, I think. I don't care how many teams come from the same conference. You've got all these rules. The idea, I thought, is to get the best bowl matchups in the biggest bowls. It's not to penalize either of these teams today, but apparently that's what's going to happen. Not to say the other bowls don't have some good things going for them, but the loser of both of these teams should be playing in a BCS game.
Yeah, you get penalized for making the game.
Yeah, and it's not right.
And that's not right. And for Georgia Tech, same argument for Georgia Tech. They get penalized if they lose today and end up with a losing record. But fortunately, somebody with some common sense gave them the waiver. And are saying if you lose today, Georgia Tech can still go to a bowl. All right, thank you so much, Scott. The voice of the Dogs returns with Coach Richt in less than an hour.
And tailgaters, show your Bulldog and Publix spirit by throwing the ultimate tailgate party on game day. You can be selected as the Publix tailgater of the game and win a $100 Publix gift card. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Carriage Kia is Georgia's top Kia dealer. Don't believe offers that seem too good to be true. Give us a call at 866-895-0769 or visit us on the web at carriagekia.com or stop by and we will tell you if your dealer is treating you right. Carriage Kia in Gainesville, Georgia, the power to surprise. Eric Zayer's Desires for the Dogs today are coming up in 2 minutes on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Welcome back inside the IMG Network studios. Cabell Philpott with you today. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Georgia, set to kick off at 4 o'clock from Atlanta to see who will go face Notre Dame in the national championship game as we open up the college football scoreboard today. 3 games in progress. Number 11, Oklahoma, up 7 on TCU in Fort Worth. Landry Jones has thrown 2 touchdowns today. That's good enough to move him into 5th all alone on the BCS touchdown numbers chart. He passes Ty Detmer today with that 2nd touchdown. Also at halftime, Baylor up on number 23, Oklahoma State, 31-17. 4 touchdowns for the Baylor Bears in this game. An offensive explosion for those 2 teams. Conference USA championship game going on this afternoon. UCF facing off against Tulsa at Chapman Stadium, 21-14 lead for the Golden Hurricanes. They've gotten their running game going, 141 yards on the ground for Tulsa. That's the difference in that 1 touchdown lead for them. Coming up a little bit later on this afternoon, 8 o'clock tonight this evening, 18th-ranked Texas, 6th-ranked Kansas State. K-State wins that game. They will clinch the Big 12 championship game. They can also clinch the Big 12 championship game if Oklahoma were to lose to TCU this afternoon. At 8:17, number 12, Nebraska hooks up with Wisconsin in the Big 10 championship game. Dr. Pepper ACC football championship at 8 o'clock. Number 13, Florida State and Georgia Tech will vie for that title. Also at 3:30 this afternoon, number 20, Boise State goes up against Nevada. Boise State trying to get a little bit of revenge for that overtime loss last season that knocked the Broncos out of the BCS championship game. If they could win today, they will secure the Mountain West Conference championship. But our thoughts are in Atlanta today. Georgia and Alabama at 4 o'clock. Let's send it back down to the Georgia Dome. And Neil.
All right, thank you, Cabell. Congratulations, Eric, are in store for your former protege. Georgia offensive coordinator Mike Bobo. He's one of 5 finalists for the Broyles Award as the top assistant coach of the country.
Yeah, just congratulations to Mike. He's done a fantastic job this year, continuously does a great job at developing quarterbacks. Year after year, you see Georgia guys just at the top of the charts when it comes to efficiency and production. Well-deserved, Coach Bobo.
Yep, let's pump up the volume on some U2 because it's time for Eric Zeyer's Desires for today's Dogs Crimson Tide War.
Got to go in first, Hondo, today and handle adversity. There's going to be times in this football game where bad things happen, but we can't allow one bad series or one bad play snowball into multiple bad plays or multiple bad series where all of a sudden the game gets out of hand. Have to handle adversity throughout the day. I think it goes without saying that we cannot turn the football over, and we have to win that battle. The Tide right now, plus 14 in the turnover margin. They've forced 27 or had 27 takeaways. They've turned those 27 takeaways into 146 points. We just can't give this Alabama team multiple chances at getting the ball into the end zone. On the offensive side of the ball, I think it's a couple of things. Stay balanced. If we can run the football, it's going to open up things for Aaron Murray throwing the football, and we have to win on first down so we don't get stuck into third and medium, third and long situations against a very complex Alabama defense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, be physical. If there's one thing that this Alabama offense does not do well, a chink in their armor, if you will, they are prone to putting the football on the turf. If we can go in with that intimidating physical play that we've had, we can force fumbles from this Alabama team, which will create some opportunities.
Eric and I like to ride to games together, especially when we're on the road, and this is kind of like a road game. Eric came over to the house this morning, and we rode in together, and you actually had 14 different desires.
Yeah, I've got 14. It was going to go through all of them, but I figured that we would run through about 4 or 5 segments, so stayed put just with those. But listen, in big games like this, there's obviously a lot of things that you can pull out. But really, when it comes down to it, if we can win the turnover battle, be disciplined, and attack, we can be in good shape.
All right, very good. Thank you, Z. Hey, Bulldogs fans, GeorgiaDogs.com is your first and best source for Bulldogs news, scores, highlights, interviews, and behind-the-scenes video. You can also buy authentic Dogs gear in the G-Shop or bid against other Bulldog fans in our exclusive online auctions. Visit GeorgiaDogs.com today. And as we head to break, let's remember the man-enough victory by the Bulldogs in Tuscaloosa in 2002 and this ginormous play and Larry Munson.
Alabama brings a man up on the corner, and Green comes back. They're coming up behind him. He doesn't see him. He throws a long pass to Fred Gibson, who caught the ball. He fell down, but he caught it on his back. Fred Gibson, a sensational catch down on the goal line with Madison, the corner, with him. Caught a one-handed ball lying on his whatchamacallit, and Fred Gibson scored sliding in the end zone, and it's 13-3.
It's the Dogs versus the Crimson Tide. What does Georgia coach Mark Richt have to say about today's crucial contest? Find out when Coach joins us within 30 minutes on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Georgia Football Tailgate Show continues with this Bulldog Point of Pride, presented by Delta. Keep climbing, official airline of UGA Athletics. Now with the 411 on the University of Georgia, here's Steve Bell.
Hey, Bulldog fans, great teachers work at the University of Georgia. 4 UGA faculty have been named Josiah Meggs Distinguished Teaching Professors. That's the university's highest recognition for superior instruction at the undergraduate and graduate levels. The 2012 Meggs professors are Jeffrey Berjekian, William Finley, Gene Martin Williams, and James Moore. These 4 teachers are some of the best at UGA. And that's another Bulldog Point of Pride.
Live from the 2012 SEC Championship game, this is the Bulldog Tailgate Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Charlie Mack with UGA Director of Athletics, Greg McGarity. Have you got a gut feeling, Greg, about this?
Charlie, I really don't. I think probably the thing that will benefit us is going through this routine last year, knowing what it's like to enter the dome on game day, knowing what it's like to be go through the pregame ceremonies, to to go through the pageantry and really be around an atmosphere that is really bowl-like and totally different than the regular season. So I think having gone through that, our kids will be a little bit more at ease. I know they'll be hungry because we got the job done for 30 minutes last year, but didn't finish it off. But I just think it's a different. I know there's a different feeling among the team that they've been there, they know what's at stake. They've gone through this routine before, so I think if anything, it provides a sense of calm among the troops because they've been through this scenario before.
Greg, how often are you in the locker room before kickoff? And what about this game today? Will you be in the locker room as Mark talks to his troops? Oh, no.
I really don't go into the locker room at all with the team when he's talking to the team. I've always felt like that's a time when that's kind of his office. If he wants me to be in there, I'm sure he'd ask me to be in there for special occasions and things like that. I was in there when the team gave Dr. Adams the game ball after Tech. That was a special occasion. But no, I go and shake a few hands before, once the team gets to the stadium, and then afterwards I kind of hang outside the locker room. And once they break the team celebration or the coach's words to the team, I usually find my way in there and sit around Mark for a little while and shake a few hands. But no, I kind of stay out of those domains. I feel like that's a coach's room, and they certainly don't need to be looking over their shoulder and see the athletic director at the door, which might affect what he may say or what I may hear. And that's just not my place.
Let's go get them, and let's have some fun doing it. This could be a very, very special day.
Charlie, you having been in situations like this before over a number of years, you have to really cherish the moment. You never know when it'll be the last time you're ever in a big game like this. We hope there are many more to come, but you never really know. So you have to be in the moment, you have to enjoy it, and really soak it all in, because this is what college football is all about.
That's UGA Director of Athletics, Greg McGarity. Now, Hondo, take it away.
All right, thank you, Charlie. I'll tell you, John Meshad, John is our Director of Athletic Equipment here, came by a minute ago, and he's got a big job making sure that everything gets here. I said, John, how you doing? And he looked at me and said, I'm ready to make history. And just walked off, serious as could be. Just ready to make history. Attaboy, that's terrific. Kickoff for the de facto national championship semifinal between Georgia and Alabama just after 4.
And the 2012 SEC Championship Game broadcast is presented by Carriage Kia in Gainesville, Georgia. Visit them today at carriagekia.com and go Dogs.
Coach Rick joins us in about 20 minutes, and up next, Loran will chat with Mama Ogletree on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Dogs moving left to right. Tech had to punt on its first possession of the second half. We run out of the eye. Play fake to Marshall. Murray with time. Sets and throws. He's got a man. Caught. Jay Rome at the 5. Rome into the end zone for the touchdown.
On the floor of the Georgia Dome, Lauren Smith, Eric Zier, and your old buddy Hondo. Of course, that was Scott Howard. He's up in the press box. And let's hope we hear a lot more touchdown calls from Scott Howard for the Bulldogs today. Let's go to Lauren with a very special guest.
Thank you very much, Neil. And as we talk to Mrs. Ogletree, Alex and Xander's mother, I just want to say it's fun to visit with Archie Manning a minute ago, Neil. Archie, just the most deserving guy in the world, 2 sons with Super Bowl rings, and now he's all smiles about Ole Miss being bowl eligible,
I bet.
beating Mississippi State. And Archie, he was the architect of getting the coach to come.
Hugh Freeze
to come to Ole Miss. So Ole Miss is happy, and Archie is very happy here on the floor of the Dome doing a show for CBS. And now Mrs. Ogletree, Allison Ogletree from Newnan, Georgia, Coweta County, here dressed out in number 9. Now, how do you get away with wearing number 9 and not number 46?
Well, it's been a chore, but Alec presented me with this jersey, and so it's like every game he expects me to have it on. And Xander, he goes along with it. He's not upset.
We were talking a minute ago. They're twins. Xander is a very fine fullback. You don't hear as much from Xander because in his position. He's called on to block more than anything, but he does an excellent job. So I think he's got a very bright future too. But of course, Alec is just making those plays all over the field on defense. So not only does his mother recognize him, I think the whole country is recognizing him now. But who was actually born first?
Okay, Xander was born first. He's 2 minutes earlier than Alec, and he likes for everybody to know that he is the older brother.
Xander's the big brother. Well, you have a lot of fun at the games, you and your husband. What's the most fun about being the mother of a player who's a big playmaker? Everybody sees number 9. Everybody hears his name on the PA system, hears his name on the radio, and sees a lot about him during the week in all the media presentations across the state. What's all of that like for you as his mother?
Well, it gets nerve-wracking sometimes. I tease him at the end of the game and tell him sometimes that I'm glad he's on the defensive side of the ball and not the offensive side, because some of those hits, it makes me like, I'm glad it's not my child on the other side receiving that lick. So, but it's been a joy. It really has.
You might have been like Mrs. Herschel Walker. I interviewed her. She said she didn't want him to hurt anybody. Herschel certainly could pass a lick. Now, Alec can pass a lick. Where did he develop his toughness? Was it in the backyard with his daddy Al?
Yes, his dad and his brother, and they started playing when they were 5. And the plays that he does, he's been doing that, since he's been playing. And just him and his brother, just making each other tough.
Well, what do you like in the stands when the defense is out there and it's the offense is moving the ball? You need a big stop. What do you like? Do you get up and shout a little encouragement to Alec and the defense?
Well, I sit back and I study, because we've been around the sport a long time. And so I'm keying on Alec to see, what position he's in. Is he's in the position to make a good play? And, I'm going to cheer after the play is over with, or I might say, well, dog, Alec, why you didn't get there, or something like that. So I kind of study the game a little more than just be rah-rah all the time.
All right, something unique, unusual, something different about both your boys. First, Xander. What's a little something special about him you'd like for folks to know?
Well, Xander is a comedian, really. He enjoys life, and I just tell people that, he's really my free-spirited son, that, he enjoys people, and, he just enjoys everything about life right now, and it's just seeing him with that smile every day is it's wonderful.
What's a little insight to Alec?
Well, Alec is more on the quiet side, but he does have that tendency when he's comfortable with people. He can be a little silly too, but he's more the quiet, more studious of the two. But he has a little jokester in him too.
All right, we are happy to have Allison Ogletree with us, the mother of the 2 Ogletrees, twin boys on the Georgia team. Alec and his older brother, Xander. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great to see you, Allison. Thanks so much. Thank you, Lauren. That's really nice. And Xander, I've sat next to Xander on the plane a couple times. In fact, one time he came walking up, and I think Chuck and I were sitting in the row he was supposed to be in, and Xander just walked up and looked and went, I can go find another seat. I mean, he was just so carefree. It wasn't like I'm supposed to sit in that seat. He didn't care. Great guy. Thank you, Allison. Great to see you. Allison was escorted in by a Bulldog legend, 2-time SEC champion flanker.
Yeah, Kent Lawrence.
Kent Lawrence is with us down here on the field today. And Kent in 1966-68, a flanker for the Bulldogs. And like I said, won 2 SEC championships. Before we head to break, a blast from the past, maybe not that long ago, but how about 2003 and the whipping our Bulldogs laid on Bama between the hedges?
Shockley decides to talk and now shift us into a new position, so we go into an I. He goes underneath. He fakes to the tail. There's a man wide open. Touchdown in the end zone, right down the middle. Jamal Smith, the fullback. Good play action fake, and on a delayed drag, the fullback then ran over the middle.
A great Larry Munson. Coming up in 15 minutes, Coach Mark Richt huddles with Scott Howard for an exclusive Q&A about today's SEC championship game matchup. The Bulldogs team bus has arrived. The players are beginning to filter in. They must be going through the dog walk right now here at the Georgia Dome. This is the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
You're listening to Georgia Bulldogs football.
At the 23. Oh, lights out. Tech with the ball, 1st and 10 on its own 47. Lee pump fakes, backs up, throws it deep off his back foot down the middle of the field. He just flings it over the shoulder, interception. Bakari Rambo curls around in the end zone. Coming back this way, 10, 15, 20. Angles to the near side, looking for running room. 30, avoids a block there or a tackle there and is hit from behind at the 32-yard line. That's the 3rd pick of the year for Rambo, the 16th career interception. He ties Jake Scott for the all-time record. Bakari Rambo.
This is the Bulldog Tailgate Show.
Bakari Rambo named the SEC Defensive Player of the Week for his outstanding effort in the Bulldogs' pummeling of the North Avenue Trade School last week. Time now for our picks with Scott Howard, Eric Zier, and Loran Smith. Everybody went home with a trophy last week. Everybody went 2-1.
Oh, it's like Little League.
It is just like Little League.
It is.
That's right. So we're going to get right to it. Will Kansas State beat Texas by 11 or more? I'll say yes. The Wildcats have had to stew for 2 weeks after getting humiliated by Baylor. Texas can't stop anyone this year anyway and is playing with a backup quarterback. Eric?
I'm going to say no. I think Kansas State stunned a little bit after a couple of weeks ago, exposed maybe a little bit as well. Texas now fighting for some pride. I like the Longhorns not to win the game, but to stay within that 11 points.
Aren't they playing in Manhattan?
That is correct.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to go with the home team.
Okay.
I'm with Lauren on that one. I like K-State in Manhattan, and Z's going for moral victories there, so I'm booing you, Z.
You can boo me. I'll stand on an island proud. You've got to make the comeback.
All right, Z, we'll let you go first with this one. Will Nebraska beat Wisconsin by more than a field goal?
I'm going to say yes, only because every time I pick Wisconsin this year, they have let me down. I'm not doing it again. I like the Huskers.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, Wisconsin's eating too much cheese. I like the Cornhuskers as well.
My gosh, I don't know where to go. I really don't care, but I'm going.
There it is.
I'm going with Wisconsin.
We were waiting on it.
Lauren, we're just going to leave you out of this next year.
I'm going with Wisconsin.
You're going with Wisconsin.
I won. He came in the second pick. I won the draw.
You won the draw. Okay, well, Nebraska beat Wisconsin by more than a field goal. I'll say no. This is going to be a 3 points or less victory for one of them. My gut tells me Wisconsin in a straight upset. And finally, Lauren, can Georgia Tech stay within 2 touchdowns of FSU? That's 14 points, 2 touchdowns.
I don't know, and I really don't care on this one. Absolutely. But I think that Jimbo Fisher and Florida State are so troubled by their loss to Florida, and they have not seen this wacky offense of Georgia Tech. So I'm going to say Florida State. What is the question? Can Georgia Tech stay within 2? What are we doing here?
Can Georgia Tech?
Yes, they can.
Yes, they can. Scott.
You know, Lauren doesn't care, but you know who does care about this game? That's the Orange Bowl.
Yes.
They care a lot. But no way Tech stays within 14 of FSU.
Yeah, I agree with that. Florida State rebounds from the loss against Florida. They roll in this one.
Tech's defense is better for straining spaghetti than it is for playing football. Knowles roll by more than 14.
Bit of man.
Yeah,
I'm out on an island, right?
Yes.
I'm out on an island.
Yes, you're out on an island.
Well, I got
Lauren, we didn't even have the 2 picks for you to be out on an island.
Well, I got some Tech friends, so I don't feel bad about being where I am.
All right. Thank you, Lauren, Eric, and Scott. We're going to try to catch Kirby Smart, former Bulldog, Alabama defensive coordinator, in just a bit. And we're going to have Mike Bobo and Todd Grantham. Is that right, Lauren? Yeah, both of them are coming on. Now, Scott Howard returns with Coach Richt after these words. SEC championship game from the Georgia Dome on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Welcome back to the Tailgate Show. We're joined now by Bulldogs head coach Mark Richt as we take a look at today's opponent, the Alabama Crimson Tide. This segment brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Coach, can you kind of look into your own program and see some resemblance when you talk about Alabama? It looks like both teams are very, very similar in a lot of ways.
Well, there are some similarities, no doubt. 2 of the most efficient passers in the country, 2 teams that believe in running the football and the play-action pass that comes off of it. Defensively, obviously, we both play 3-4 schemes, and a lot of the thoughts behind the pressures and the coverages are very much alike. So I think there are a lot of similarities, and of course we're both 11-1. We both 7-1 in league play. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could point to.
Are you glad to get back to playing a pro-style team and not have to face that option stuff like we have the last couple of weeks?
Well, I don't know. Since we've been through it and had the success we did, if we played a third one, it wouldn't be all that bad. We'd be ready for it. But the transition back was a little bit of a task for everybody. But I think by the time Wednesday rolled around, everybody was back in the swing of it.
Tell me a little bit about Alabama.
Well, I think you first of all got to start out with their offensive linemen. They got the Outland Trophy winner of a year ago, Barrett Jones, back as a center now. He played tackle last year. But that group, they've got 3 All-Americans in Warmack, Jones, and DJ Fluker. And some people think their left tackle might be better than all of them. So they got 155 starts between them. Very, very physical bunch, and they've been protected well. They've been run blocking well. So they're very impressive in that way. And then the 2 backs that get the ball the most, Lacey and Yeldon. Lacey's been around a little bit. He's a junior, and Yeldon's a true freshman. Very talented, number 42 and number 4. So they're outstanding football players. And then they got this another freshman, Amari Cooper, number 9, very dangerous wide receiver, 45 catches, over 700 yards, 8 touchdowns. Been making a lot of big plays for them. And then McCarron, their quarterback, is the number 2 rated passer in America, right behind Aaron Murray. And he's only thrown 2 picks the entire season. Just very impressive guy.
Defensively, they lost a lot of guys from last season, and some folks possibly expected a bit of a drop-off, but they haven't really dropped off much.
Not really. They're about number 1 in America in just about every category you could think of. Just very, very solid, just big, strong guys that can move. They're playing their scheme extremely well, very disciplined in what they're trying to accomplish. They've got a couple guys that are national award winners, or at least in the finals for those types of things. They just they play a lot of tight coverage. They believe in their defensive backfield to be able to play it tight, and sometimes they'll have 2 safeties helping, sometimes they'll have 1 safety helping, sometimes they'll just bring the house and just play man coverage with no help at all. But a lot of tight coverage. Will have to be very accurate and very precise in our route running as well.
Dallas Lee, one of our starting linemen, has a brother that plays there that's a linebacker. Has that conversation come up at all this week, and maybe in a little bit of a joking manner?
Well, not with us, but maybe with their family. I'm sure they're gearing up. His mama's probably got a jersey that's half and half or something like that. I have no idea how they're going to handle it as a family. But, those kind of things are fun, and it's more fun when you win, though, I could tell you that.
Is it about the same as it has been all season to come up with a game plan for a team like Alabama, very solid in just about all areas, or is it a little more challenging?
Well, it's challenging to actually get the job done. I think the plan is not that hard to get because you kind of know what they're going to do and they know what we're going to do. So it's not like you got to sit there and go crazy trying to plan the thing. It's a matter of executing it against an outstanding bunch of players and coaches. So that's going to be the biggest challenge, is to physically get it done.
It's number 2 Alabama, number 3 Georgia coming up today in the SEC Championship here in the Georgia Dome. That's Coach Mark Richt and our look at today's opponent, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Georgia football history.
45-40, run, Lindsey, and Butler kicked a long one.
Through the voice of a legend.
Clock running.
And some stupid miracle could still happen.
Here's another listen back to Larry Munson's greatest calls.
Now look at the clock. It's 17-16, and Alabama's got 3 timeouts. Dogs lead for the first time. We've been behind for 17 hours. Now we got a 1-point lead, but Alabama's got 3 timeouts. Everything now is extremely large. Georgia suddenly has climbed on top. The team on the bench asked the crowd to get in it again. Here's Alabama trying to save themselves. 59 seconds to go. They're on their own 49 shotgun. Hollingsworth going to take it. Hollingsworth throws out of bounds, incomplete. The man was diving at it on our 39, incomplete. Alabama up to the line. Is this the last time of the day for them? 43 seconds. Alabama on their own 44. Where does he throw it? 3 left and 1 right. He's back to throw. He's throwing long to the left. Carswell intercepted on the 33. Carswell fell down on the 40. Carswell intercepted. Carswell saved our Franny. And the Dogs will have the ball on the 40. The team is mobbing Carswell.
Georgia football. Then.
Old Lady Luck has defeated them.
And now.
Completely dominating football game by the Georgia Bulldogs.
Here's a defining moment from the Dogs' last time out.
From the Tech 17-yard line. Going to pitch it back to Marshall. He angles right. 15, 10, 5, stumbling. Reaches out. Give it 6. Touchdown. Keith Marshall stretched the ball across the goal line and got it inside the pylon. He was stumbling about the last 6 yards, and his momentum just carried him towards that right corner, and Keith Marshall scores for the second time today.
Now let's break down the play with Eric Zier. Along with the All-American quarterback, here's Neil Hondo Williamson.
Well, hello again from the Georgia Dome, everybody. It's beginning to fill up a little bit. You know, people trickling in, crimson and red as well, and different Bulldogs lying in front of us, getting stretched out, guys running around on the field, throwing some footballs. And Eric, it's pretty exciting atmosphere.
Boy, it really is. When you play college football, when you just play athletics in general, this is what you dream about. You know the butterflies are going to be high for everybody that's out here on the field right now, and it's a special moment. All those nerves will go away as soon as that whistle blows for the first time. But you know the excitement levels are extremely high right now.
All right, don't be intimidated by the Crimson Tide mystique, folks. Georgia has won 3 of its last 4 over Alabama, and 6 of the last 12 dating back to 1976.
Yeah, and to win here today, you go back to that last touchdown run by Keith Marshall that we just heard. Scott Howard on another fantastic call. We're going to need more of just what was done last week against Georgia Tech. We've talked about it all year long. Aaron Murray's ability to get this offense into good plays. We went to the line of scrimmage. That was a pass play that we were lined up and about to go execute. Aaron Murray, his ability to read the defense, that's probably where he's made the most strides this year. Not just to change plays with check with me's, where you go to the line of scrimmage with 2 or 3 different plays and you choose from one of those, but to get completely out of a play and into one that is going to take advantage of the defense. It's exactly what he did on that play. We were in a twins formation. Tight end was to the right. He checks to 48 boss, which is a toss sweep. Saw an overload defensive look in the secondary. Had no secondary support person out to the right side of our offensive line. Aaron Murray very calmly checks to 48 boss, tosses it back to Keith, get a couple of key blocks up front. Keith then takes it to the house. It's that kind of decision-making and that kind of leadership that we've got to see here today if the Dogs want to win.
All right, thank you, Eric Zier, for that expert analysis. Speaking of experts, Alabama Crimson Tide defensive coordinator Kirby Smart is across the way. Our Loran Smith will grab Kirby in 2 minutes. This is the Bulldog Sports Network live from the Georgia Dome. We're on the field. It's the Dogs and the Tide kicking off just after 4 o'clock on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Tech will go for it. Run the option to the right. Lee looking for space. Nothing there. He's running backwards. We push him back to the 50. He's still on his feet. We've got 8 guys going to wrap him up at the 50. A huge loss of 8 yards back to near midfield.
Back at the Georgia Dome, let's go across the way to Loran Smith, who's standing by. Loran.
Thank you, Neil. Joining us, Kirby Smart. Almost said Kirby Moore. Big difference. And he is the defensive coordinator, an old Bulldog who played and coached at Georgia, but the defensive coordinator at Alabama. Professing that he's very sleepy and tired. You're not really worried. I mean, you guys, it's the old hat to you, and you're not worried about this Georgia offense, are you?
Loran, come on now. Let's don't go there. I can't sleep at night. That's tired because I'm worried about it. It's the atmosphere here. Kids really looking forward to it. But obviously I'm a nervous wreck.
A lot of some people say, between Georgia and Alabama. Your thoughts on the two teams? You know your team, and now you know Georgia's team very well from film study, and then, of course, you know your old roommate, Mike Bobo. How do you assess the two teams?
Very similar. Both teams hard-nosed, physical, traditional offenses, very similar defenses. You know, we do a lot of the same things that Todd and them do on defense, so there's a lot of similarities. Bottom line, the kids got to go out and play, and guys that make the plays and win.
What do you have the greatest feeling for in terms of respect for the Georgia offense? What do they do that you have a great appreciation for from an execution standpoint?
Well, they run the ball well, and they throw the ball vertical down the field, which is always a challenge. You know, you don't want to give up big plays, but you got to stop the run. So when you combine those two things, it's really hard as a defensive guy to try to stop both those.
You all are a very efficient team, the least penalized team. You don't beat yourself. How much do you emphasize that philosophy at Alabama?
A lot. I mean, everybody does. We're no different than anybody else. We just emphasize it, try to get it, sell our players on that's our way to win a game, and try to get them to buy into that. But it's nothing different. No magic potion. It's what everybody does.
Nick Saban, a lot of people think he's the best coach in America. What is it like to coach for Nick Saban, and what makes him successful?
Well, I think his perseverance and his focus, attention to detail makes him a great coach, because the guy, he never sleeps a moment. He's always on top of things. He demands and expects a lot of his players. And same way with the coaches. He holds everybody accountable, and I think to be a leader, you got to do those things.
You've been here before. You've won a championship at Georgia, coaching at Georgia in 2005. You've also won at Alabama. So you have good memories of the SEC championship game. What is your favorite?
I don't know. That's tough, because the 2005 year was special. I got to coach a great group of young men, the running backs, Lumpkin and Thomas Brown, Danny Ware, some great guys, man, Sutherland. So that was a special one for me, and it was also my first one. And then beating Florida was really special in the second time, because we had lost to them the year before. So I'd say both of them are really, really special to me.
Having played and coached at Georgia, is there a special Georgia memory?
Yeah, I'd have to be beating the Gators down there in '97 when Robert and Mike had big games. I'd definitely say that was a big memory of mine, because we had not beaten them in a while.
Now, this week, have you sat back and had some thoughts about your old friend Mike Bobo? He likes to do this, or his philosophy, but have you gone through a few chess games in your mind in preparing for the game tonight?
Well, you try to think about what the other guy's going to do, but at the end of the day, he's going to call a play, and I'm going to call a defense, and the kids are either going to execute it or not. It's not going to be about what we call. It's going to be about what those kids do, and he knows that. I know that, and both he and I want this to be about the kids, not about us, because we've already had our time to play, and this is really about them.
He is a personal friend, but he is one of the sharp offensive coaches in the country, and I don't think a lot of Georgia fans appreciate the respect he has in coaching. How good a coach is Mike Bobo?
He's a great coach. Most underrated coach I know, because he does a great job every year, year in, year out, regardless of the circumstances. He's very efficient in what he does, and they're successful. When you can run the ball and throw the ball, his development of quarterbacks has been very impressive over the last 10, 15 years. So his resume kind of speaks for itself, in my opinion.
All right, Kirby Moore, defensive coordinator at Alabama. We'll go back over to Neil.
Thank you, Loran. Todd Grantham is over on this sideline, awaiting Loran to come over here, and he will talk to Coach Grantham in about 2 minutes. Georgia fans, if you want the most coverage of Georgia sports, you want GTV. GTV is the online destination for exclusive audio-video coverage, features, and highlights of Bulldogs athletics. Log on to georgiadogs.com/all access right now. The best way to follow the Bulldogs is GTV.
The 2012 SEC Championship game broadcast is presented by Carriage Kia in Gainesville, Georgia. Visit them today at carriagekia.com and go Dogs.
Step into the Wayback Machine and dial up 2002 Georgia versus Arkansas and the SEC Championship game.
We're in a power eye, and Arkansas is in there with a 7 or 8 man line. And Big Musa, touchdown at right tackle. Man, we opened a crease over there at right tackle, and Musa just shot across. And the Dogs lead 6-0.
Mike Bobo and Todd Grantham standing by with Loran on the field. We'll be back in 2 minutes on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG. Standing on the 44-yard line at the Georgia Dome, let's go to Loran Smith with our coordinators. Loran.
Yes, Mike Bobo and Todd Grantham, you're here getting ready for this game. And throughout the season, how much do you two guys huddle to talk about your respective game plans in terms of how you can complement one another? Todd?
Well, we're always talking about, what we need to do to win the game. We talk about situations that may come up, particularly in the fourth quarter. And, we're just trying to do things that we've got to do as a team to allow us to win and be successful like we have this year.
Mike?
Pretty much what Todd said. Depends on who you're playing each and every week and how you're going to approach the game. And you're going to do what you feel like gives the team the best chance to win and how you approach both sides of the ball.
Now, Todd, you have talked to Mike this week, I'm sure, about his old roommate, Kirby Moore. Have you got anything, a little bit of a scouting report from Mike about his old roommate?
Not really. I think that he's probably got a good feel for what they're going to do and how they're going to play him. He's kind of seen it every day in practice ever since August. So I think they got a pretty good feel on what they need to do.
Now, Todd, you coach with Nick Saban at Michigan State. Does that help you any to be familiar with how he thinks?
I don't know. It's going to come down to players making plays and basically, executing the game plan and attacking them and playing for 4 quarters. And that's really what we got to do from the kickoff.
Mike, in the summers, you visit with Kirby. Do you all talk football? Have you gained an appreciation for some of his thoughts that might be helpful tonight?
We talk a little bit, but not really. When we get together in the summer, it's usually a competitive game of golf, or our families get together and hang out and talk about, the days past, not really what we're doing right now. Both of us doing our own respective thing, and he has done an outstanding job over there at Alabama. Year in, year out, they've been one of the top defenses in the country, and this year just done an outstanding job with who they lost defensively, and to come back and play as well as they have this year. Just a credit to him and his players.
A feel for Aaron Murray's attitude coming into this game. Big game for everybody, particularly a big game for him. How ready is he?
I believe Aaron Murray's ready to go. Probably had one of the best 2 meetings we've ever had on Wednesday and Thursday, and walked out of the meetings and told the other coaches that, Aaron's ready to go. He knows what's going on with the game plan. He feels confident and comfortable, and that's all we ask him to do. Just do what he's been doing all year and go out and play, and realize it's not all on him. It's this whole football team that's playing, and we all got to go just play for 60 minutes.
Todd, everybody says Nick Saban is known for efficiency and also discipline. Does it create a little greater challenge playing against a coach who emphasizes discipline so much as Saban does?
Well, I don't think he emphasizes any more than anybody else, particularly any team that I've been on. The bottom line is it's a championship game. It's a 4-quarter game. And basically we got to go execute the game plan and play with the kind of intensity needed to win this kind of game.
Their quarterback, how good is he?
Well, he's a good player. He's gotten into the championship game. And he knows offensively what they want to do. He gets them in the right play, doesn't make any disastrous plays, protects the ball. And if he's had to, like the LSU game, he's went and won it. So he's a good player.
Our players, Todd, having played here last year, feel more comfortable perhaps? Is that an advantage?
Well, I think anytime you've had continuity and you've done something more than once, it helps you. So obviously the stage from last year, I think, will be good preparation for us, for this year's game.
Mike, crowd noise here, how much does it affect the game and calling of plays and the snap count situation? Quarterback.
Well, anytime you play in a stadium that's not a home field stadium, it's going to be a little bit of an issue, and the defense is going to have a little bit of an advantage because you're going to have to go on silent when you're in the shotgun. But, we played on the road a lot this year and had a lot of success, so we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
All right, thank you, Mike Bobo, and also to Todd Grantham, the Georgia offensive and defensive coordinators, respectively. And Alec Ogletree is our Pro-America Player of the Week this week, a junior inside linebacker from Newnan, and we had his mother on just a little earlier, Allison Ogletree, talking about him and his older brother, Xander. He's been on a tear since taking the field the first time this season, the team's 5th game against Tennessee. He leads the team with 87 tackles, including 7.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Most recently, Ogletree recorded a career-high 15 stops during the Bulldogs' 42-10 rout of Georgia Tech. He also grabbed his first career interception and led the attack for safety against Ole Miss. Both the Ogletrees played for the Newnan Cougars. Xander scored his first TD against Ole Miss. And we regret, Neil, to inform everybody that the death of Terry Sellers, who played for Georgia 65, 6, and 7. Coach Dooley and I were talking about the Mississippi State game, 1966 in Jackson, 17-17. Went on for a championship. You feel how important it was to win the opening game. Mississippi State was in scoring position. Terry Sellers hit an open pass receiver so hard that he coughed up the ball, and Happy Dix caught the bobble pass in the end zone, and then Kirby Moore directed the Bulldogs down the field where Bobby Etter kicked the winning field goal, Georgia winning 20-17. Terry Sellers was a fine football player, and we express our sympathy to his family.
All right, thank you, Loran. We do indeed. We're on the floor of the Georgia Dome. We're going to come back. We're going to talk to Eric Zeier about Georgia's defense, the Alabama offensive attack as well. Come back in just a little bit and get with Coach Richt and Scott Howard for the Inside Skinny on today's SEC championship game. Number 2 versus number 3 for the right to play number 1. In October of 2002, Georgia was called out by former Auburn head coach Pat Dye, who claimed that the Bulldogs weren't man enough to go into Tuscaloosa and beat the Crimson Tide. Let's hear a highlight from that monumental Georgia triumph.
Bama's linebackers a little close. One of them in particular snapped to Green. They're coming on him. Green going to throw a long fly pattern to Terrence Edwards. Touchdown! Perfectly led play. Green got clobbered after the play, but he threw a perfect strike. Terrence got one step on the defensive back and just came across the goal line as he caught it. Terrence Edwards, a great catch, and David Green really laid that ball in there.
Eric Zeier, 2 minutes away on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Setting the table for Dogs football.
Dominate on 3, 1, 2, 3, dominate. Keep them from getting outside.
Is this a byproduct of the hurry-up offense?
3rd down and 5.5 coming up for the Yellow Jackets just inside their own 30. The snap goes over the head. Washington scrambles back, and he will go down at the 13-yard line.
Live from Atlanta, this is the Bulldog Tailgate Show.
Eric Zeier back with us, and Z, our Dogs have been intimidating opponents with relentless pressure the last 5 weeks.
We had Rambo and Tree to sit out 4 games, and we had Sanders sit out 2 games, which, and once they got back, they weren't really into game speed like they would have been if they would have played at the beginning of the year.
Georgia cornerback Damian Swann there, and with all the pieces in place and the kinks worked out in UGA's last 3 SEC wins, the Bulldogs have surrendered only 19 points and have a streak of 6 straight scoreless quarters. You toss in the manhandling of Georgia Tech and Georgia Southern, and can you say freight train?
Freight train indeed. Playing like the defense that we all expected we would see coming into this season, and it's an intimidating physical defense with hits that look like it belongs in the WWE, not in the SEC. Just fantastic football by a lot of different guys, and the discipline that we didn't see throughout the year, we're seeing right now. And it's that kind of physical play today. If there's one weakness on this for this offense of Alabama, it's they put the football on the turf quite a bit. 21 fumbles on the year. They've only lost 11 of those. So fortunate in those regards. But the running backs have put the ball on the turf the way that we're bringing the wood right now and bringing pressure in intimidating style. We can force some fumbles from this Alabama offense.
Eric, the Crimson Tide that we'll see today actually has a more prolific passing attack this year than any of the previous under Nick Saban. 5 Bama players have caught 3 or more TD passes this season. Do you think that they'll come out firing?
Well, no question that this offense is more pass-happy than what you've seen in the past, but still very balanced. Bama right now over 2,600 yards through the air. A.J. McCarron playing at an unbelievably high efficiency level. He's got 25 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, but Bama still wants to be balanced. If you look at how many times they throw the football in a given game, it's typically between 20 and 30. I think that you're going to see that. I really think that you're going to see these two teams come out very similar to a heavyweight battle. Guys filling each other out, trying to get a feel for the football game, get some kind of an understanding of what each team is going to try to do against them defensively. So I think you'll see some running of the football, maybe a shot or two deep down the field early on just to back everybody up. But for the most part, I expect that you'll see with both attacks, very balanced attack, very similar to what you have seen throughout the course of this football year.
Well, we've been talking about how great the defenses have been playing, and how about Georgia's coaching? In 11 games this season, our opponents have scored a total of 85 second-half points. 7 of those came off an interception, so 78 points in 12 games for the defense.
I don't think the 3-4 scheme is the reason why we're having success as much as, we've got the right coaches and the right players, performing well, because I think you could be a 4-3 or there's a lot of different ways to line up defensively that a lot of teams are having a lot of success.
There's Coach Richt in praise of defensive coordinator Todd Grantham. Eric, how will Coach Grantham stop the Alabama ground game that features 2011 Outland Trophy winner at center and a first-team All-American guard to complement the nation's most efficient passer and a stable of thoroughbred running backs?
Attack all game long. If you think back to the Florida game, it's really the one game this year we have attacked defensively, bringing safety pressure, corner fire, so corner blitzes, a lot of dog pressure with our linebackers. Same thing today. One of the things that you do when you bring that kind of a pressure is you get that 8th guy in the box, so it serves as running protection as well, where you can stuff running lanes on top of that. In addition to that, you can create some confusion with A.J. McCarron and maybe get him off of his points just a little bit, get him out of his timing slightly, so it creates pressure in a number of different ways. I expect from Todd Grantham in this defense that you see attacking pressure with a variety of different looks all football game long.
All right, thank you, Eric Zier. Bulldogs coach Mark Richt will give us the inside skinny on today's Dogs Crimson Tide contest later this hour. SEC championship game from the Georgia Dome. Kickoff just after 4 o'clock. This is the Bulldogs Sports Network from IMG.
You're listening to Georgia Bulldogs football.
The 23. Oh, lights out.
Southeastern Conference championship, to me, stands alone as something that's really, really, really special.
Here's Coach Richt. And Mark Richt coached Georgia teams are 2-3 versus Nick Saban coached teams. Saban beat the Bulldogs twice in LSU's 2003 national championship season. The Dogs came back and creamed the Bayou Bengals between the hedges in 2004. Georgia then beat Bama in Tuscaloosa in 2007, but fell to the Crimson Tide in Athens in 2008. Eric, one question for you about the venue. Depth perception. Is it going to be difficult for either kickers or the quarterback looking into the stands here in a dome as opposed to being outdoors?
It is different. There's no question about that, but something that all of these guys have played in it before. They're going to be able to adjust very quickly just out here in warm-ups. That's kind of where you feel it the most when there's nobody in the stands. As soon as these seats fill up, it's going to be just like playing outside.
Yeah, not that different. Okay, I just know that playing basketball, when you're used to playing in a high school gym or in your backyard, and then all of a sudden you get into a place like Phillips Arena, it's the depth perception.
Yeah, no question. As soon as you get the people and the fans in the stands, it really eliminates that problem.
It's the only reason I ever missed any shots when I was in the big arena. No, I'm kidding. All right. Thank you. Bulldog fans, GeorgiaDogs.com is your first and best source for Bulldog news, scores, highlights, interviews, and behind-the-scenes video. You can also buy authentic Dogs gear in the G-Shop or bid against other Bulldog fans on our exclusive online auctions. Visit GeorgiaDogs.com today.
The 2012 SEC Championship Game broadcast is presented by Carriage Kia in Gainesville, Georgia. Visit them today at CarriageKia.com and go Dogs.
In 2002, Georgia had never won in Tuscaloosa. Then an Athens native who would go on to become the NCAA's all-time leading scorer helped end the Hex.
Now we're only 7.5 yards back. We're on the 22.5. Alabama's got 8 men on the line. We're going to try to win it right here. We kick it up and it's looking all right. Yeah, I think yes. Billy Bennett stuck it up in there with 38 seconds. Now we got to play defense for 38 seconds. And we took the lead back 27-25.
Man enough. Don't touch that dial if your blood runs. and black. Georgia coach Mark Richt gives Scott Howard the inside skinny within the next 2 minutes or so. And in 2 minutes, UGA quarterback great Eric Zier reveals his game plan as number 3 Georgia grapples with number 2 Alabama today, just after 4 on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
The Georgia Football Tailgate Show continues with this Bulldog Point of Pride, presented by Delta. Keep climbing, official airline of UGA Athletics. Now with the 411 on the University of Georgia, here's Steve Bell.
Bulldog fans, quality teaching is a hallmark at the University of Georgia. 3 UGA faculty have been named recipients of the Richard B. Russell Awards for excellence in undergraduate teaching. The 2012 Russell Award winners are James Jed Byers, Joseph Getz, and Gary Green. The Russell Awards recognize excellence in undergraduate instruction by faculty members early in their academic careers. And that's another Bulldog Point of Pride.
Now, our pregame coverage continues with today's game plan, presented by Cotton States Insurance. Call Country Financial at 1-866-COUNTRY to start with an auto quote today.
From the Tech 17-yard line. Going to pitch it back to Marshall. He angles right. 15, 10, 5, stumbling, reaches out. Give it 6. Touchdown.
Back on the field with Eric Zier, your old buddy Hondo here. And see, you know, I just thought about have already had a long day. The Georgia cheerleaders.
That they have.
Because when I turned on game day, you know, they're standing there behind, and somebody's got to be holding those girls up when the guys are talking and the girls, their pom-poms are shaking and people are screaming and yelling.
It is truly an event, a long day for a lot of people, but the excitement that it's about to take over this building is going to be something that everybody on this field, everybody in this building will remember for a long time.
For a long time. All right, we usually ask you when we're game planning, we ask you to game plan against the opposition. Today I want to flip it around for a moment. Alec Ogletree's stat line for the last 4 games has been nothing short of breathtaking. 48 tackles, 2 sacks, a safety, an interception. How will Bama plan to neutralize Ogletree?
Well, it's not an easy thing to do. Alec Ogletree possesses so much speed and is so strong and so physical when he plays. The one guy that really that I think about when I see Alec play is Derek Brooks, a teammate of mine in Tampa Bay.
Wow.
Obviously the great linebacker out of Florida State. Alec possesses so many of those same qualities. He can change the game by himself. You really can't run away from him because of his speed. He just takes over ball games. If you're going to attack Alec Ogletree, you've got to go right at him, try to neutralize that speed, and try to get a couple of big bodies on top of him. So you slow him down ever so slightly, but extremely difficult to do, as those numbers that you just rolled off would indicate.
About 10 Alabama players just came out on the field in uniform. This place is 1/10 full, and you could probably hear the crowd already and how jacked up people are. Crazy, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It's a special environment. It's why you want to come play in the SEC. It's what you dream about from the time you're 5 or 6 years old. It's to play in this kind of game against an opponent like Alabama.
All right, let's get back to it. Sound, please.
Of course, as a receiver, I love that, and I love when we got a lot of receivers on the field. I think that spreads them out, and it puts pressure on, their DBs and also the box. When we spread them out, they got to keep less in there, and it keeps pressure on them. With our great running backs, they can make plays.
Georgia receiver Rhett McGowan likes how the Dogs have run the hurry-up offense this year. Eric, is that the best way for the Dogs to keep the Crimson Tide off balance this evening?
Well, it's definitely one of the ways. This Alabama defense can give you a multitude of different looks. Nick Saban and this Alabama defense, very high football IQ. They can give you a lot of different looks, try to walk guys around, confuse Aaron Murray, confuse the center on where the line needs to slide to in order to protect. To minimize that some, you can go hurry up. It's not just no huddle, though. You've really got to pick up the tempo, go on quick count some as well, to neutralize some of the moving around that Alabama can do. Let them force them into getting into their base look and staying in that base look. What you don't want to do throughout the course of this football game is get into a chess match with a Nick Saban, because he has proven himself to be one of the very best.
Can we run on Alabama?
we can run on Alabama. As a matter of fact, we're going to have to run on Alabama just in order to stay balanced. If you look at the teams that have had some success against this Alabama defense this year, LSU and Texas A&M, both teams ran over or had over 100 yards rushing the football. Only 2 teams all year to do it. In both of those games, they accompanied that with over 250 yards throwing the football. So the ability to be balanced is critical. We can do that today. We're going to have to mix up when we do it. Can't be predictable. Have to have some solid first down plays to get ourselves in second and short, second and medium situations where we really can be balanced and not forced to be one-dimensional.
I've asked you this a couple of times earlier in the season, and that is Aaron Murray as a runner. Is tonight a night that you maybe set up some design quarterback draws, some option reads, some of those things, so that it gives Alabama yet another thing to think about?
I don't think you get away from what you've done all year long. That's part of the game plan, however. We just haven't done it a whole lot. I think that you probably will see just a little bit of that as a wrinkle in the game plan today. But when you've got Todd Gurley and Keith Marshall and Ken Malcolm in the backfield, you want to make sure you're not taking the football out of their hands and running it with your quarterback when you've got such talent there. But as a slight mix-up 1 or 2 times throughout the course of this football game in some must-have situations, as a nice mix-up, Aaron Murray's got the wheels to do it.
All right, thank you, Eric Zier. Now about 15 Bulldogs have run out onto the field as well, and heard a lot of boos there. Alabama's got a lot of people in this joint, folks. It is not going to be like the other 4 SEC championship games that Georgia has played in the Georgia Dome when we have had the majority of the fans. It's probably going to be split more 50-50. We'll come back. Scott Howard will sit down with Coach Richt with an inside skinny on today's SEC championship game. That's coming up within the next 10 minutes. This is the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
Welcome back inside the IMG Network studios. Everyone, counting you down to kickoff. Under an hour away now, Georgia and Alabama for all the marbles in the SEC championship game at the Georgia Dome. As we open up the college football scoreboard today, Conference USA Championship approaching the final few minutes, 27-all, UCF and Tulsa battling in Chapman Stadium for that conference title. Also, number 11, Oklahoma, trying to keep their Big 12 championship hopes alive today. They're up 24-17 on TCU with about 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Landry Jones, 235 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mentioned it a couple times today. He passed Ty Detmer on the all-time leading touchdown passing chart. He was 5th, and now he is all alone. Landry Jones is at 5th on that chart. Also today, 14 minutes to go in the second quarter. 15th-ranked Oregon State up 14-0 on Nicholls State out in Corvallis. That game canceled earlier in the season, or postponed rather, because of Hurricane Isaac. It was to be the opening game for both those teams. Number 23, Oklahoma State, trying to climb back in it against Baylor. Early in the fourth quarter, Baylor 228 yards rushing on the ground. They're trying to control the clock as that game comes down to the wire. A little bit later on tonight, 3:30 kick this afternoon. Number 20, Boise State tries for revenge at Nevada. They lost last year in overtime. Boise State will lock up the Mountain West Conference Championship with a win today. A doubleheader at 8 o'clock, 18th-ranked Texas, 6th-ranked Kansas State. If the Wildcats win, they clinch the Big 12. Texas trying to help out Oklahoma. Actually, if Oklahoma could hold on against TCU, they still have a shot at that Big 12 title game. Also at 8 o'clock, number 13, Florida State tries to recover from their horrible loss last week and home against Florida. They will take on Georgia Tech in the Dr. Pepper ACC Football Championship in Charlotte. Again, an 8 o'clock kick for the Noles and the Jackets in that game. Finally at 8:17, number 12, Nebraska lost 3 of their, Wisconsin lost 3 of their last 4 games. Number 12, Nebraska on a roll. They come into the Big 10 championship game. Both those 2 teams trying to win their conference. Again, 8:17 kick for the Big 10 championship game in Indianapolis. We are talking Georgia and Alabama. Let's send it back down to the Dome and Neil Hondo Williamson.
All right, thank you, Cabell. 1 year ago, our Dogs were here on the floor of the Georgia Dome, but the stakes this season are undeniably higher.
I feel like we're a lot more confident this year, and that we want to go back and finish what we started last year, and actually get a victory, because some guys that went and are still here, they got the taste of what it would be like to win, but didn't actually get the W. So that's something we're really looking forward to this year and something we're really hungry for.
Scott Howard, Jay Rome didn't even play last year, and he feels a different energy emanating from this year's Bulldogs team when it comes to the SEC title game. The national championship hanging in the balance, that can help nudge that feeling, can't it?
Well, most certainly. Jay was a redshirt freshman last year, so he was around this team a lot on the practice field, just didn't play in the games. Did play some basketball, but that's a completely different story. But he had to watch at home last year when they were here in this SEC championship game. But when you're in the mix, like Jay is last week, caught a touchdown pass, his first career touchdown pass. He's in the mix. He's in the passing game now. You're on this stage. Your drive is a little more amped up, as is evidenced by what Jay was just saying.
All right, sound please.
You know what to expect now. Like, we know how the atmosphere feels. We know what type of game it is. We know how much it means now.
Loran Smith, linebacker Amarlo Herrera, and the Dogs aren't just happy to be here as they may have been last season. Great question I heard this week. Have some teams lost to Alabama even before the game starts?
Certainly, because Alabama's got so many good players, so much better than most people. But I think psychologically what you're referring to, Alabama not only has confidence, they have experience. I think that the thing that people forget about college athletics is you start with a new cast every year.
Right.
And it takes a while to sort of get into a groove. And that's why winning early, maintaining your composure, winning games at home, winning games that you could lose, winning games when you're playing somebody who's not so highly ranked, but they give you a tough outing. You got to win those kind of games. And I think that Alabama has done the best job of winning when they're favored to win, beating the team they're supposed to beat. Texas A&M was a rare thing for Alabama to experience.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Eric Zier, we've heard Coach Richt and you talk about it all season. Coach Saban mentioned it this week. Georgia quarterback Aaron Murray has been superb at getting the Dogs offense into the right call at the line of scrimmage all season. How much harder is that to do against this Alabama defense, and why?
It will be Aaron's most difficult task that he's had all season long, maybe his most difficult task to his career to date, and it really comes because this Alabama defense has such a high football IQ, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They give you multiple looks. They're able to scheme against your weaknesses and really get the matchups that they want as well and attack your weaknesses. And with the multiple looks that they provide at the line of scrimmage, a lot of disguise is going to take place. So an awful lot of film study has to go in throughout the course of a week, which we know Aaron does a great job of, just to pick up some of the small keys. Where is a safety in certain situations, and when he's in that spot, what coverage do they typically go to, those kind of things. It's going to be needed today. Will absolutely be the most difficult task Aaron's had. He's going to be up to the challenge. He's as smart a quarterback as you're going to find anywhere in the country. Does the right work, does the right study. So he'll be ready and prepared today, but will absolutely be the most difficult task he's had all year long.
All right, thank you, Eric. Scott Howard, do you think we're going to be outnumbered by Alabama fans here tonight?
No, I agree with what you said earlier. I think it's going to be about half and half. Dogs fans are thirsting for this game, as are Alabama. And the tickets were supposedly distributed pretty even, and those that were left over, I think, are going to be snatched up evenly. So I think it'll be pretty close to 50-50. They might be louder because they've got more to holler about in Alabama.
Hey, I saw a great sign walking into the game today. This Georgia guy's got a big sign that says, "Please don't poison our trees."
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. As we send it to a quick break, let's remember 2007 at Georgia's third consecutive victory over Alabama.
Georgia will get a crack from the 25-yard line. They'll line up in the I formation with Thomas Brown, the tailback. Play action fake to Brown. Stafford wants to go for it all right here. He throws to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! Georgia wins! Mikey Henderson on the reception. One and done, baby.
Coach Mark Richt in the inside skinny with our Scott Howard. That's in 130 seconds. It's the Dogs and the Crimson Tide on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
time now for the Inside Skinny on the Dogs with Bulldogs head coach Mark Richt. And Mark, from day one, this is what the guys have been talking about and the coaching staff. This has been the goal to get to this point in the season. And now that you are at this point, to have an opportunity to play for the conference crown and some pretty good things on the other side of that. How does it feel to get to this point?
Well, it feels good that we were able to get here. Every year we're trying to win the East and get to the SEC championship. But I think because we were there a year ago and didn't have the best of performances, we want to come back and do a better job. And I think that the goal all year long has been to try to improve every single day so we can get where we want to go. And then when we get there, we'll be ready. So, now's the moment of truth. We're going to find out if we're ready for this moment.
Are we healthy this week? Do we look pretty good all the way around?
Unless somebody gets busted up in pregame warm-up, I think we're in pretty good shape.
How has this week been from a distraction standpoint? Any more, any less, or just kind of business as usual?
For me personally, it really wasn't a whole lot more. Claude Felton does a good job of keeping it from getting too crazy. But there was a few more things here and there, but not much at all. And I think our players really had the same routine that they've had all year long. I know, Murray opted out of speaking to the media, but I'm glad he did. I wanted him to be able to just focus on the job at hand and whatever schoolwork he had. And I think that's going to help him.
Some folks had asked me about that, and I didn't really see it as a big deal. I mean, here's a young man that's one of the most accessible players that Georgia's had in his career here, and he wants to step aside so that he can focus on his job, maybe just feel better about his preparation. Is that kind of it this week?
Yeah, he just wanted more time to study, and he didn't want anything to get in his mind other than what was healthy as far as knowing your assignments, knowing your job, getting everybody in the right situation, having a familiarity with what's going on the other side of the ball. So it's one thing to see it on film and be able to make the right decision or be able to see what's going on. But when you're standing behind that center in the heat of the battle, it's a little bit different. So you want to be as prepped as you can so you can recognize things on the field and then be able to, get us in the right play.
In talking to the players this week, there really seems to be a lot of confidence in this group, and they feel very good with where they are right now. Is that how you see it?
Well, they're confident. I mean, we know we're a pretty good team, and we know we're playing a really good team. So, but I think everybody's excited about the battle, excited about the competition, just to see what kind of a team we really have here. And there's no doubt we're an outstanding football team, but we just want to see, can we take it to one more level that we hadn't been able to in the time I've been here. So I know the guys are really looking forward to that chance.
Is there anything special that has to be done today to have success, or is it just execution of what you've done all season?
Well, it's just like if you look at Alabama's loss to Texas A&M. Well, Alabama had 2 interceptions and a fumble, and probably if they don't turn it over, they're probably going to win that ball game. So, the turnovers do matter. We play Florida. They turned it over 6 times. We turned it over 3 times. There's a +3 for us in the game. We end up winning it. So turnovers are huge, but you can't just sit there and you can make sure you don't turn the ball over. You can snap the ball and take a knee, but you're not going to win the game. So you still got to play football. But as you're playing football, as you're fighting for those extra yards, as you're trying to make those decisions to get the ball, advance down the field, throwing the football, you just got to be wise and you got to be respectful of it. But you can't just get yourself to the point where you just can't flow and play. So we're telling those guys to, hey, let it rip, believe in yourself, and just rely on the habits you've already created.
Mark, much good luck to you. You guys be safe. We'll see you after the ball game.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, that's Coach Mark Richt. It's Georgia and Alabama coming up in the SEC Championship. Hondo will send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Scott. I'm standing out here right now on the 45-yard line. We have our special teams group. Snappers and kickers are together, and they're having a little prayer out on the field. Meanwhile, the Bulldogs have come out en masse from the locker room. They're getting stretched out over on the north side of the stadium. On the south side, Alabama came out to loud cheers as well. The place really started to get lit up in here, folks. If you're not with us or coming here to the Dome, you're going to watch it on TV. Make sure you turn down your sound and turn up Scott Howard's play-by-play. Good to see Coach Saban standing out on the 50, and here comes Coach Richt as well. We'll come back with more from the Georgia Dome. Kickoff just after 4 o'clock. That means less than 45 minutes away till the SEC Championship between number 2 and number 3 for the right to play number 1 on the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.
when you live around there, and I played in a lower classification, so I never really got to play there like a lot of the big guys. So getting a chance to play in the Dome, it's something you dream about.
That's Georgia linebacker Christian Robinson, and it is a big deal for all these young players to get a shot to shine on an NFL field, but it's dwarfed by what's riding on today's game. The SEC Championship, the winner plays for the BCS title in 6 weeks in Miami versus Notre Dame. The second-place team gets a set of steak knives. Now, that's not true, but our Bulldogs are the designated home team for today's SEC Championship, so we're wearing our home red. We are not on the press box side. We are on the opposite side of the field on the bench, which is a little unusual. Georgia has won 12 SEC championships, which is third best in league history. Alabama has tallied 22. Tennessee has 13. That's going to take care of our program from the 31-yard line here at the Georgia Dome. The producers of the AT&T Tailgate Show are Charles Youngs, Cabell Philpott, Adam Witten, and Jay Black. Tony Schiavone and Charlie Mack-Alexander contributors. For Scott Howard, Lauren Smith, and Eric Zier, this is Neil Hondo Williamson. The BB&T countdown to kickoff with Scott, Eric, and Chuck Dowdle is next. Then we kick it off in the most significant game for Georgia football in 30 years. Buckle up, boys and girls. It's going to be fun. This is the Bulldog Sports Network from IMG.